Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Into the Storm podcast, where we look to uncover the most vulnerable side of our friends and or referral partners that are doing amazing things in and around the community here in Arizona. We are a real estate podcast, but we don't just do real estate. We try to focus on people doing really cool things that are doing, regardless of what business they're in. And luckily for us, a lot of these people happen to be our friends and family and referral partners and or. So first of all, I want to thank you, say thank you to Bison Ventures for allowing us to do this in their amazing office, which is my office. It's our podcast room.
Yeah.
And we have another sponsor who you may know, Muscular Moving Men. They are our first real sponsor, so they are contributing to the podcast, which is awesome. So if you have a residential move or a commercial move, these are the guys that you should be using. And I've used them many times.
Same.
And I give all our referrals to these guys over there. And they have a commercial side called 3M Moving, which has moved our office from our Scottsdale office into this office. So two different avenues, but so thank you to Muscular Moving Men. And please follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're not really good at Twitter or LinkedIn, but we are on those. So please go on there and follow us, share with your friends, especially if you're a guest on the show. It'd be great for you to share these episodes with your friends. And lastly, go to our YouTube page, like and subscribe, ring the little bell there so you can be notified when a new episode hits. And that's the beginning, all done. So today we have a special guest. She is a wife, a mom. She's an undergrad from Texas A&M.
Correct.
And she has an MBA from Rice
University.
Rice University. And now she's a real estate agent with 𝘠𝘰𝘄𝑤𝘺. So when I was actually going through to write that, it was not like it was like elaborate or anything, but I was going, the funny part about that is that it's not that you're an overachiever with like your credentials to be a real estate agent. I just, in my mind, it was funny.
Yeah.
But it also, I think that having such an elaborate history, I think, of education, it just shows hard work ethic and just kind of puts you in like a whole nother level of your competition when you're stepping in, because a lot of people come into the career as a real estate agent with not that much work history or education.
Right.
And so that'll be my first question for you. So
Yeah.
Actually, let me just back up a little bit. So are you from Texas?
I am originally from Texas. Yeah,
Okay.
I am born and raised Texan from Plano, Texas, which is just north
Home
of
of Ross
Dallas.
Perot, right?
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, I grew up there. I did my undergrad, as you mentioned, at A&M. And that was, I was trying to follow the path. I wanted to be a veterinarian, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I was going to get my, that didn't work out. Let's just cut to the chase. I'm more creative. Clearly, that didn't work out. I'm more of a creative mind than a science mind. So ended up getting a business degree at A&M and then wanted to get my MBA. So I come from a series of, God bless my parents. They are both they put education very at a,
high
it's
level.
very important, at a very high level. They were both have their masters. So I knew I was going to eventually get my master's. So I just followed the business path. And so that's when I went to Rice, got my master's there, and focused on marketing. And then I, right out of the gate, just got my first job in real estate, but it was more on the investment side. So I was running communications and investor relations for a real estate investment trust company in the Houston area. And then I got a job promotion opportunity to come out to Phoenix and do the same thing, running marketing for Cole Real Estate Investments, which was a big company here for that did retail. And so I was born and raised in Texas.
So you've had many years in the real estate business, technically.
Yes.
So
Yes.
for all the people that don't know, Rice University is a very highly prestigious university, right?
Yes.
I mean, so what led you to A&M though?
Honestly, the agricultural department.
Okay, so that's why because I saw you got a degree in agriculture, or
Yes, it's a business degree in the agricultural college. So it was called, agricultural leadership.
Okay.
But it was basically, listen, no joke. I was just didn't want to have to, I knew I couldn't pass organic chemistry. So I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? I just need to change.
Being a vet.
Right. Just kiss that goodbye. What else can I do and not have to like repeat a year of college? So I just stayed in the agricultural college, got a business degree there. And I knew ultimately I was going to go on to get my master's. So.
Right. So a lot of people go to A&M. I mean, it's an engineering school, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but I think over time, I think that's where its infancy was, a military engineering school. It was all men. And over time now, it's just really blossomed into a great academic college in all disciplines. But yes, I think that it was definitely...
Well, they say that A&M has also one of the best walkouts ever for their football team.
Yes.
So, like, if you haven't seen this, Google Texas A&M walkout when the players actually like are walking into the stadium. It's incredible. Like the whole stadium's shaking, and it's like
amazing.
Enter Sandman, or I can't remember what song it is, but it's like it's the whole place is singing, and it's insane.
Nuts. And it's like, and I actually was able to be there during the time when they still had the bonfire. So that was the big deal, the Aggie bonfire. So it was a really cool part of going to college there. So
is Rice near A&M?
No.
Okay, so you just chose Rice?
I just chose Rice. I wanted to, I knew I either wanted to do SMU, which is in Dallas, or Rice, which was in Houston. And just since I grew up in Dallas, I just wanted to do something different. And so Rice it was.
Stepdaughter's at SMU.
It's a great school.
Yes, it is. Okay, so you got the job with the REIT from somebody that you knew from Rice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you, so like explain to us like what that is, like what a REIT is and like what you would do there.
Oh God, you're going to school me on this now. It's
a real estate investment.
So a REIT is a real estate investment trust. So it allows individuals to invest in real estate without actually having to have the capital to invest in large real estate assets. So you can, for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, invest in a large pool of assets. So the ones that I worked for did retail real estate. So they kind of would go out and purchase all of these big, main on main grocery anchored centers, package them in an investment portfolio, and then allow individual investors to come in and purchase a portion of that and then get a dividend off of the income stream of that.
And you were doing marketing for that?
I was doing marketing for that. Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, when did you move to Phoenix then?
So I moved to Phoenix in 2000, and I want to say 2007. Yep. And I was a job opportunity. I got recruited by another real estate investment trust that was based here at Cole Real Estate Investments at the time. And they brought me out to also run their marketing. And it was a job promotion. It was a great opportunity and similar concept, just a bigger company. And so that's what brought me out to Phoenix. And I was like, literally, it was like a Thelma and Louise experience. My mom and I just jumped in a car. I'd never even been to Phoenix. I flew in to interview, flew home, got the job, packed up my stuff, and my mom and I drove cross country, and I moved to Phoenix. I didn't know anyone. And then so when she left, I was like, okay, I hope this is a good idea.
Right.
But now it's home.
So when did Ari come into the place? So was he here?
Yes. So no, he was not here. So Ari came in to play. So I moved here in 2007, and that was right around January. Okay. So I've known Ari for years. So the short story
this is a good story. It shouldn't be a short story because it's every, I guess, sibling's nightmare.
So I guess it depends on which perspective, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. So Ari is the older brother of one of my sorority sisters.
Right.
So I had known Ari for several years, just because I knew her family.
Right.
And so at the time, I knew her in the sorority, but when I was getting my master's and living in Houston, so Houston and Dallas, for anyone who's not familiar, they're not close. It's about a 5-hour drive between Houston and Dallas. So that's just long enough that you don't want to just go home for the weekends, right? So she would always invite me over to her house because she lived in the Houston area. And so I would always come over for the weekends, and Ari would just be home from college hanging out. And I always thought he was a cool guy. And, he was just intriguing to me, but we never really, engaged, I guess, in that, he was seeing someone or I was seeing someone, or I was just like, oh, he's my friend's older brother. It's like, whatever, but he's really cool. And then fast forward, when I moved out here, my friend, she had just had a baby, and so she was having a baptism for her baby. And she invited me to come to the baptism. And I was like, absolutely. What an honor. Well, little did I know, I was the only non-family member that was invited. So if the Greek culture, if anyone doesn't know, like they're known for arranged marriages. Like his family, Ari's parents, had an arranged marriage in Greece. So I truly believe it may have been an arranged marriage situation.
Have you asked that question?
We joke about it all the time.
Okay.
We joke about it all the time. And they laugh and say no and then say yes.
Yeah,
so that's how, and then that weekend he and I just really hit it off and had a great time. So that was in August of 2007. And at the time he was living in Sacramento. So he's a partner, he's a periodontist, and he was a partner in a firm out in Sacramento. And then I flew out for a date. He came here for a date, and then we kind of realized, like, okay, I think this is the real deal. It was very quick, and then he was like, okay, well, you can move here or I can move there. And at the time, I had a really great job, making great money. He was in a partnership, but he wanted to kind of get out of the partnership, so he was in a position to where it was time for him to move on. So he's like, well, I'll just come to Phoenix. Like, no sense in you leaving your 6-figure job. I'll come there. I'll start a practice. So he came to Phoenix, and around October, by December, we were engaged, and then we were married the following September.
And so he's still a periodontist.
He is, yes.
But wants to be a som.
Yeah. Yes, I think
he
he's
is technically, I guess.
He is technically a level 2 som.
He is a som, but just not working at a restaurant.
I think if he could have the perfect life, he'd have his own restaurant, and it would be a very small, intimate setting, like a very restricted access, maybe, one table. He could sit in the kitchen and cook for everyone and pour them wines. And he's really passionate about cooking and wine. And I mean, the amount
of time that he's put into, I don't think people know how much time goes into actually becoming like a level 1,
right?
Let alone a level 2,
right?
I mean, he the book's like this thick, and he would just come home from work and just sit there and study. And
so the joke is that it was Christmas a few years ago, and I didn't know what to get him. Right. And one of his buddies was I think he's a level 2 or level 3 som, and again, he's also a periodontist. So, and he'd always talked about this. And I was like, oh, well, that would be a fun gift to give him. I'll just sign him up for that level 1 class, but I didn't really know. I thought it was like a weekend away, and he'd like get away from the kids and just have a weekend and taste wine and come back as a level 1 som. Not the case. So I signed him up, gave it to him for Christmas, and then he was like, oh, this is fantastic. And then he was like, he signed up, and I was like, great, so when do you go? He's like, oh no, that's to take the test. Like they're sending me all the course material, and this it was like 3 textbooks, like a 500 deck PowerPoint presentation, and he had to memorize all of it before he could go to that weekend away to take the test. So it was literally 6 months of him going to work, doing surgery all day, dealing with keeping his business going, and then coming home and studying for this test. But so he was kind of like, let's talk about Christmas going forward. I'll give you some ideas going forward. So
for the people who don't know what som means, can you explain what a sommelier really is?
Okay, and to my best, he's going to be like, oh, that was horrible when he sees this. But a sommelier is basically an expert on wine. So they have to study all the different varietals, the regions, you name it, of where wine comes from, how it's made, the differences between California wines and New World, Old World, all of that.
Yeah.
And it's just multiple levels. And so if you ever hear of someone who is a master som, I mean, these people have basically dedicated their life to it, and they can pick up a glass of wine that they don't even know what it is. They can smell it and they can taste it, and they can tell you the year, where it was grown. I mean, every detail about that wine. That's master level.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy.
And there aren't many of those in the world.
There are not many of those.
Right?
And
so how do you, it's sommelier?
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 Is there an L in there or no?
There is an L.
But it's a silent L.
So some people say sommelier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I've heard
tomato.
I'm just saying, like,
that's why we shorten it to
wrong. That's why I said som, because I didn't know how to say it correctly.
Right. And you don't look like an idiot.
Nervous.
You're like, this is sommelier.
Well, the last time I talked to him too, it was at that ice cream place on Tatum and Shea.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just drinking Bordeaux's right now."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, what's the Bordeaux?" Right? This is not a podcast about this.
Hey, Ari, this is about you. Okay.
It's very interesting talking to him and talking to somebody of that level of wine, because you just realize how little you know.
Yeah.
Because you can just go to Total Wine and you're just like, oh my God, well, there's the Bordeaux. Well, what the hell does that mean? And then it's just like a whole nother thing. But he did explain. He's like, it's like a different version of like a Pinot, if you want to.
Yes.
But it's just like from
the Bordeaux
region.
Right.
And it's not like
right. So New World, California, they
Right.
name their wines by the actual grape. Cabernet Sauvignon is a grape. But in the Old World wines, they name it by regions. So yes, they're using a Cab grape, but they don't call it Cabernet Sauvignon. They call it by the region it's grown. So that's the difference.
Boom.
Boom.
We're done.
Mic drop.
Thanks for coming. Okay. All right. So let's get into a little bit about your.
That was a good segue into real estate.
That was. It was. Hey, shout out to we could, if you want to use Ari to help get some of your.
Because he would rather do that than cut on people's mouths.
Right.
Okay.
We've talked about this many times too. Him actually doing a cool like workshop, or just like a that'd be something. We've talked about this earlier about doing something.
He should be your next guest on Into the Storm. Let's talk about
really
wine.
Should.
Yeah.
Because
Just line up some bottles.
Let's do it.
Dude, that's
on the table.
Into the Storm after dark, right?
Yeah.
It's like
After dark.
The after dark drinking edition.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we have
after hours.
We have talked about, having people, giving them the option to do a shot or have a cocktail before this. 'Cause some people come with like nerves.
Oh, like just a shot? Like this is vodka.
You're right.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I just don't know if it's like from a compliance standpoint, it's good at HR and stuff. So, because they already think it's weird that we have liquor in our offices because they can't even be opened technically. So, so no, we never would ever do that.
Just for decoration.
But
Never
after dark,
right?
You never know. You never know how someone shows up. All right, so when you decided to, so you had kids. And then you decided to come into the real estate space, right?
Yes. Okay. So basically, back in my marketing executive career, so I was a C-suite executive in the real estate investment trust world, right? When I got pregnant with the boys, so I have twin boys, they're now 11. And hi, George, hi, Alex. And they, when I was going to go back to work, like I'm a workaholic. Like I love working and what I do. So I had the nanny set up. I was literally the weekend I was supposed to go back to work. I decided, what am I doing? Like, I want to stay home and raise my kids. Because where I was at that point in my career, I was working 90 hours a week. I was the first one at the office by 5:30, 6 in the morning, and I was at home until 6:30 or 7 at night. So I would have never seen them. I would have been paying for a nanny to raise my kids, and I literally had a nervous breakdown and went to Ari and said, I'm supposed to go back to work on Monday, and I'm quitting. And he was like, wow, that's fun. I was like, wow, okay, that's happening. So, and it was really that fast. But to his defense, and God bless him, he's looked at me and he's like, look, have no regrets. You can always go back to work, but you can't get this time back with the kids. So he supported me in that, and that I owe that to him, because what that did, it allowed me to be a mom. And I always joke that I was my career path, I was chasing that promotion to CMO. I wanted to be chief marketing officer. That was everything to me. And I never got there. I was like, I could smell it, and then I quit. But I always say, God works in mysterious ways, because I finally got promoted when I quit my job. It just wasn't chief marketing officer, it was chief mommy officer.
Right.
I stayed home.
Good spin.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so that I stayed home with the boys. When they were about 2.5, I was like, okay, I love my children, but I think I need something other than Thomas the Train and diapers. So I wanted to how can I reinvent myself? We had gotten used to just living off of one salary for 2.5 years, and had that opportunity. And this goes back to something that you said, had the opportunity to say, what do I want to do with my life? If I'm going to go back to work and I'm going to sacrifice that time with my kids, then what do I want to do for myself? And I always wanted to be my own boss. I always wanted to build my own business. And so I looked at Ari, and I loved real estate. And I was like, okay, what if I got my license and I could be a realtor? And we literally had this conversation. I can remember us sitting in the kitchen, and he looked at me and he was like, Deb, you have your master's, you have an MBA, you are making 6 figures. You want to go do something that you just have to be a high school grad to do? Why? Why do you want to do this? And I said, well, I think that because I have my MBA and because I have that experience and that acumen and that professionalism and the work ethic, I think that's going to set me apart. I think I can build a business. I think so many people are just looking at this as, where's the next deal coming from? And I think I can put a layer of actual, how do you build a business around real estate? And so he's like, okay, go for it. So I did, and haven't looked back.
So it's very similar to my background as well, and my thought process coming into the mortgage space, because I didn't come into this world until I was 38 years old, and I was in corporate America for a long time, and I felt the same way, because I knew a lot of people in this business that they've only done this. So when you say business acumen, right, you're almost force-fed business acumen. You are force-fed when you're in a corporate America job, really, right? You have to do all these things. You have to learn all this stuff, and it helps you, analyze your day-to-day activity. And like, even when I came to this company, they didn't even have nobody had a CRM system. The company didn't have one. None of the LOs did. They just used the loan operating system. And I just thought these were like the basic things. But what I realized was it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So how was your like first year kind of getting into this and going, okay, all the things I need to do, was it as easy as I thought it was going to be? Or am I going to be as better than everybody like I kind of thought I would be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think I was very, very fortunate on how I started into the business, because we didn't need the income. And I think that's a big difference. A lot of agents that get into this business need the income. So you approach your business a lot differently than if you don't need the income.
Right. You're chasing the dollar deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're not focused on what are the fundamentals of building a business. You're just like, how do I pay my bills?
Yeah.
Right. So you're looking at someone as a transaction, not as a person. So I think because I was able to enter this job on my own terms. So my first year, the first thing I did, of course, learning, like, look, let's not recreate the wheel. Like, there are very many successful real estate agents and business women and men out there. I reached out to a friend of mine, and she said, I've got a really great friend who owns her own brokerage, and she's in Texas. Why don't you just give her a call and just see what her advice would be to you? And so I did. And she immediately said, hey, have you heard of this person called Brian Buffini? And I was like, no. So, hey, shout out to Brian Buffini. No, she was like, you need to look him up, and you need to take his peak performer class. Okay. I mean, hey, someone who's successful telling me what to do, check.
Right.
So I went out, and that's literally what I did. I took the peak performance class. And what it did is it gave me, because I'm a very, like, I need to know the game plan. Like, if someone's already been there, then just tell me what to do. And it was a step-by-step process on how to build a real estate business and be referral-based versus transaction-based. So that was my first year, and I literally did everything that he asked me to do. That's what I did. And I just slowly built, and I just loved it. I loved that approach. I'm more about relationships. I do not want this to be about where's the next paycheck coming from.
Yeah.
I want someone to trust me. I mean, I think I've done enough of these personality, I call them personality disorder, analysis, to know that I'm a people pleaser. I enjoy being seen as the expert. I enjoy knowing that you can trust me enough to come to me and ask me to sell your home. Like, that makes me so excited. When I get someone who says, hey, I got your name from, like, that's the best phone call I can ever get. And I get so excited about it. So that approach, like, really resonated with me. And the fact that he gave me the building blocks to also understand, okay, how do you run a business as a CEO, a CMO, a CFO, a COO? Because that's what we are. You know, I don't think that people truly understand how much work building a real estate business actually is. And there's so much more to it. And as the market has gone up and down these past few years, I think people are realizing now, if they didn't take the time to build a business, that they're really struggling.
Yeah.
So
you're.
Oh, sorry,
I
Buffini.
could hear her start talking.
Yeah. Sorry. So Buffini, when I first met you, I want to say like the first couple of weeks at least, you started evangelizing basically Buffini, and I had heard of him because my broker was super into him as well. How much of that are you still using today, and have you used a lot of those Buffini fundamentals when you have mentored other agents?
Yes, and yes. Okay. A lot. In fact, this morning, Taylor and I just had our team coaching call with our Buffini coach. And I mean, I think that for me, their CRM is just fantastic, and it's a easy to use platform. But yes, I have used that. I still use it. It is just about the basics, making phone calls, doing pop buys, writing handwritten notes. I mean, it sounds so simple, but yet he's making billions of dollars, letting people know that's all you have to do.
Right.
And because
it's consistency of doing the things you're supposed to be doing.
And it works. Like if it didn't work, I wouldn't still be doing it.
Yeah.
But it does work. And I think it's about just mindset. And having someone, because we can get so wrapped up in trying to figure out the next step and follow these shiny objects and everything. But I think if you just follow the simple steps, it works. And when you go off on a tangent, we all do, to come back to those fundamentals, and it's just getting in front of your database. It's just reaching out, it's connecting. My little tagline is face-to-face wins the race, and that is truly what this business is about. Like if you can get kneecap to kneecap with someone and create that bond, I mean, they may not need you right then, but they're going to remember and they're going to want to help you, right?
Do you do a certain amount of handwritten cards every day?
I'm supposed to.
Okay, yeah.
Coach Julie. Yeah. But listen, yes, I do. Yeah. I have a specific number of calls I'm supposed to make every day, a specific number of notes. It's not easy. And I win some days and I lose some days. But I think it's because you have that to focus on. If it's consistency, it's like the compound effect, right? That's a really great book that kind of amplifies that system. It's just tweak one little thing. And if you just focus on one more thing, but you're consistent about it, and by consistency, that doesn't mean like every day you win the race, but you have to do it. Yeah. And so you're going to catch up if you get behind, but it's important. Just that little tweak is going to just amplify your business.
You know who else does Buffini? And we're not touting another agent in town, but we had a couple of people on 2 episodes ago, big Buffini people. And man, they are so good at, every time I see them, I get a handwritten card.
Yeah.
I went to the open with them.
Taylor,
I didn't even
make a note. We need to write Ryan a handwritten card.
And the bottle of wine every time.
I know. Okay, that too. A pop by. It'll be a pop by. We can lock a pop by.
No, it's funny though, because I did come into the office the other day, and we went out to the open together, and I didn't even take them to the open. We just went to the open together. And I got a bottle of 𝘰𝘂 when I came. It was from wines, and
I need to meet this person.
But with a card, and it was like, we had such a great time hanging out with you. Thank you so much. And I personally really, really appreciate it, because I try to do that stuff too. I think the gifting part of, or recognizing just the people, right? And just doing a simple, great seeing you sort of thing, it is so important. And I think the Buffini's very good at it. Like I notice when people have been coached in that program.
Yeah.
Because that's what you get. And to me, it's, for some people it may not mean as much, but to me it means a ton.
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool. So when you got through the program, did you, so your marketing background, obviously if you were on your way to be a CMO, you were really good at marketing.
I hope so.
And
they didn't fire me. So.
Right. So coming into with having Buffini, having your background, how did you tie the two together?
Yeah. So marketing 101 is, you basically have a product you have to sell, right? And that product, the widget, whatever it is, you got to figure out who's the target market, what do they need? What are they looking for? How do you package that? So whether it's real estate, whether it's a water bottle, whether it's a podcast, right? You have something that you're trying to market. So I was able to bring that skill set of knowing how to identify your target audience, which I hate saying that, but who are you trying to get in front of, right? Who are you trying to engage with? And now what do they need? What are they lacking? What are they not getting? Why would people change real estate agents? So really trying to analyze all those different things. And then, okay, now how do I layer on my brand? And I think that what I'm trying to do with my brand is make it more about, as I mentioned, more about just how you feel. What's your experience when you've worked with me? And maybe you haven't worked with me, but you know me. So I feel like as many people as I can get to know me, who I am, because I don't want to work with people who don't like me.
Right.
I mean, that's not, no one wants to do that.
No.
So, and that's okay. I think, Emily Sikorsy, who you guys know, she's
Emily.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She told me something once that resonated so well with me. And she said, your brand is more about repelling than attracting. Think about who you don't want to work with and don't market to those people. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Because I think that's what we do. We try to market to everybody. And then you get the people you don't really
Right.
want to work with,
Right.
who don't understand you. And that's when I started switching my marketing and my branding to be more about luxury real estate. And where I want to be careful is that doesn't mean that it's a price point. Something else, like I always tell people, I work with people, not price points, but the experience you're going to get with me is a luxury experience. Whether you're looking
That's
for
good.
a
I've actually
$200,000,
not heard that yet, but that's really good.
yeah. So whether you're looking for a $200,000 condo or a $5 million house, I want you walking away with the same experience.
Yeah.
Where it feels much more catered to your needs. And honestly, at the end of the day, I want you to say, you're my friend, not my realtor. When I hand you the keys or we're closing the deal and we just sold your home, I want them to be like, hey, can we go have dinner? Like, I
Right.
don't want that to be the end of our relationship. In fact, that's where I think a lot of real estate agents make the mistake, is as soon as the deal is closed, they move on to the next. That's where I'll come in and swoop in and capture those people. And that's not in a negative way.
Yeah.
But my focus is not on how am I going to make money off of you? How do we help each other? What value can I add to you that you may not need today, but you may need tomorrow? And guess what? You may have a friend that needs me. So how can I come in and make you look like a hero? By just being professional and
Right.
just writing a note and listening when they say that they just had a grandbaby. Okay, that's an important thing for them. Like, do you think that they're more focused on that grandbaby, that 2-week-old baby, or buying a house? Even if they told you they're ready to buy a house, they're focused on that grandbaby. So I want to appreciate that and celebrate that with them. And the house will come when the house comes. And that's kind of really how I approach my business, is it will come when it's time to come.
So do you have them, do they organically send you like their friends, and or do you actually like ask for that business? Like, do you, like, these people, you become friends with these people, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the deal, now you're like, hey, do you have anybody, or would you be willing to?
It's so awkward.
Like,
it really
sucks,
is.
right?
Sucks to ask for the business,
But I think when you get to a point where you're that close with your friends, where you can be like, hey, I really need you to help me.
Yeah.
And if we're this good of friends, then they should be like, hell yeah, I want to help you.
Right. And I think that is the hardest thing for everyone to perfect, right? But you have to ask for the business. If you don't ask for the business, then don't be sad when you don't get it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way for you to ask for it in a way that makes sense to you. Everyone's different, right? Everyone has a different style of how they are approaching the business. I want to be more like, if they say, oh my gosh, how could we ever thank you? This was amazing. You've been amazing. I say, you know what you could do? Is just send me, if you hear of anyone that's looking to buy or sell, that would be the biggest the biggest gift you could ever give me is a referral.
Right.
Because that's how I build my business. It's 100% referral based. So there's ways to make it less car salesman-y, is what I call it, where you just connect with them. But to your point, eventually they forget.
Right. So there's another step.
It's a continuous step. And they, we in the Buffini world, he talks about it as, you have a garden. This table was our garden, and it's our business. When you start out there and you're doing this, you're planting seeds, right? That you and I had a conversation. I met you for the first time. You said, hey, do you have a real estate agent you would use? No, not really. Hey, can I earn that business? Can I be that person for you? Oh, sure. Great. That seed, I'm just planting it. So that seed's planted. Now you got to water it, right? Because if you don't water the seed, then it's going to die. So watering the seed is the inviting you to events, reaching out when I see on social media you just had a baby, writing the handwritten note after a coffee meeting, whatever those is, we're watering. And then finally, you don't know when that seed is going to sprout. You just don't. But if you stop watering it, it will never sprout. So over your business, what you're trying to do is plant as many seeds as you can. And that's why I think what I think most new agents don't realize is the past 2 years were an anomaly. Like, you could get a license and you are somehow on $1 million, I'm a $1 million agent and had your own show because you just got your agent in 2020. You got your license in 2020. Now I think what they're realizing is like, oh God, this is actually hard work. Like, I'm slow. I don't have anything. Well, it's because you weren't building a garden. You weren't cultivating it. You got to get out there and build those relationships, and because you never know when they're going to sprout. And I think that this is a long-term play. Like, I've been doing this now almost 9 years. And I just in the past few years have started to see all the fruits of my labors from the past few years start sprouting. People that I met 2 years ago who were not even thinking about buying or selling now are.
Yeah.
But if I had neglected them for the past 2 years, they would have already called the next real estate agent who just moved next door. Right. So it's about just staying in front of people, and it's a constant thing. And then you have to ask for the business. You have to.
So does the Buffini, you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought Taylor did. I was like,
well, Taylor.
Wait.
So
she's in my line of sight,
Taylor.
so that's why.
There we go. All right. So we've got Taylor's or Debbie's amazing assistant, Taylor,
Yes,
who's been
she's
with
fabulous.
8 months. Have you guys been
8
together?
months, yeah.
Okay. And she wrote me a little note, something that she thought would be good for you to talk about. That's your 2023 mission. I'm assuming it ties into what you guys were just talking about.
So 2023, my goal is to help over 30 families with their real estate needs. And that could come in multiple ways. Like, I didn't want to make it like, I want 23 transactions, because that takes away the personal side of it. I want to help 2023 is throwing me. I want to help over 30 families make a move with their real estate needs, whether it's upsizings, downsizings. Maybe they just need a CMA so they can understand where their portfolio kind of is right now. Whatever it is, I want to be able to help 30 families or clients for 2023.
So
Did
how
I
do
get
you,
it right, Taylor? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so for the person that came about, say that, you didn't talk or you did a deal with them maybe 2 years ago, or you talked to them about it 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden now, this week, say they called you. It's not because you're just like hanging out with them, you're seeing them and stuff, so you're sending them cards every week.
Right.
Is it, so you're managing your database. In
Right.
what fashion are you doing this? So how are you staying in front of them for 2 years? They may not even live anywhere near you, may not be your social friend. So how are you doing that?
So it's really just a combination of different marketing outsource touch points, right? So there's going to be the note cards. There's going to be birthday cards that go out. I'm big on, one of the things that Taylor helps me with is make sure we have everyone's birthdays or important things in our database so we can celebrate with them. So I'll reach out on their birthdays. If they have purchased a home, then on their anniversaries, I'm touching base, hey, it's been 2 years. Like, are you still loving that? I know that you bought that house because you were going to, grow your family. And I know you have that baby now. So how's it working? Oh, you're pregnant again? Oh my gosh. Oh, you need a bigger house? Right. Oh my gosh. Right. So
That's
it's the conversations, so it's reach out calls. It's the handwritten notes. It's touching base on birthdays, monitoring them on social media, which sounds stalkerish, but it's not because I'm on it anyway.
Yeah.
And just paying attention.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's paying attention and making sure you're reaching out. And then there's the standard things, right? So I do email blast. And I think what they have to resonate and what I do with my marketing is try and make sure they understand what I do. And that, yes, I'm a fun person and I'm fun to hang around, hopefully, but I'm actually a professional in the real estate world.
Yes.
So I'm trying to provide value add, educate them on what's going on in the markets, what's happening with interest rates. Is this a bubble? Is it not? So trying to just stay in front of them and providing value add content, whether it's in a newsletter, whether it's in a email blast. I'm doing a dinner tomorrow night for a market update where we're going to just talk about what's happening in the real estate market. And then I'm bringing my financial advisor in and she's going to talk about what's happening in the investment world. So it's just providing value.
Right.
Where they connect real estate, professional, Debbie.
Right.
That's my goal.
And it's also even if they can't come, it's the invitation too, right?
It
so
is.
Just there's things, you're always like top of mind because you're in their, their view, so to speak, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
And we talk about that a lot. Like when I'm coaching agents and we're teaching them about the Buffini programs and all of that, one of the things that I tell them is it's the action, not the result that you have to focus on. Right. So we'll do a client event, right? We do every year, we'll do like Thanksgiving pies, right? We invite everybody. And people only had like 3 people RSVP. I said, okay, but how many people did you just call to invite? Well, I called 50. You made 50 people feel appreciated.
Right.
That's the focus, not how many people show up. And I think, again, everyone's so focused on results that they forget the process and that they focus on the wrong result. The result was you engaged with someone. What did you learn on that phone call? When they said they couldn't come, oh, I'm so sorry you can't make it. Oh, you're going away to Hawaii. Oh, it's your mother's and dad's 50th wedding anniversary.
Right.
That's a fantastic, have such a great time. you've just made a connection with that person and got a piece of a nugget that you can follow up. How was the trip? So now it's like, I think where everyone hates making phone calls is you don't know what to talk about, right? Like, I've got to call 10 people today. Hey, so you looking to sell your house? Like, no, Debbie, I just saw you last night. You know, I'm not selling my house. Okay, but I just had to log a call, so see you tomorrow. But you need a reason to call, right? Yeah. But if it was, oh my God, it was so good to see. I can't believe we ran into you last night. It was great. Let's catch up. Like, let's go have lunch. You know what I mean? You need a reason to call. So a lot of the things that I coach and that I do in my business is just create ways to engage.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
this happens every time.
Sorry.
The breath.
I'm interrupting less than I have for the last few episodes.
That's good.
I'm trying to be mindful. So I think a lot of people focus on results with social media, like vanity metrics, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way about your social media, where you don't really care so much about the likes and all that bullshit, and you're like more about engagement?
Okay, so I'm human. Right. So you do look at how many likes you have. I mean, like if someone says they don't care, then
it's your dopamine, right?
Yeah.
And it's depression.
Yeah. Right. But honestly, I will say I'm in a personal struggle and battle with social media right now. Because I don't know, as a real estate agent, how many deals, and I track this, right? So when I say I don't know, I actually do know how many deals I've actually gotten from my social media presence. It's not many. I've gotten a couple.
Yeah.
But in 8 years, it's not what's moving the dial. What's moving the dial is the phone calls, the face-to-face, the relationships, right?
Yeah.
But what about the brand awareness?
So that is why you do it, in my opinion. It's brand awareness. It's staying relevant.
It's another way to stay in front of your past clients that follow you on social media.
Yes.
If you didn't make the phone call, or if you hadn't seen them, they're like, oh, there she is. Oh, that was great. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Like, you can't not do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. But I'm trying to decide, what does that look like for me, and how much time, energy, effort, money, capital investment, that you want to put into it. Now, listen, there are very many real estate agents that make a killing off of their social media, but they have a very disciplined, strategic approach to it.
And a team. And probably a team of people helping them do it.
It's time consuming. 2, it's very expensive to do it right.
Right.
And so I'm not saying you can't do it, but there's many different ways to skin a cat, right? There's a lot of different ways to build a business.
Yeah.
And I have had more success personally with other types of marketing outreach than social media. So where I am with it is, I also look to see who's liked my posts, and I find it's more other real estate agents than my clients. So I'm like, are we doing this for each other? Or am I doing it to build a business? Because then we're like, ooh, that was a cool post. Oh, they did a great video. Oh, they're being so active. I'm not doing anything. It's almost like this, but who's actually looking at it? So that's where I am right now with social. Not to down any social media companies, but I'm just like, I feel like for my business model, I don't know it's where I'm generating. It's not a lead gen for me. It's more of a billboard. It's more of staying relevant. It's another avenue. Look, if I'm going to take the time to produce a video that I'm going to put out in an email blast to my clients, might as well throw it on social media too. Right? Yeah. So that's how I look at it, because you have to have those different tiers of marketing. You need the billboards. You need the advertisements in the newspapers. You need the farming if you can afford that. I have a whole other, a whole soapbox on farming. But you need those things if you're a successful business person.
Yeah.
But I think you need to understand what they're meant for. And I think I see too many people too early in their business investing too much in the wrong things.
Great point. I see that as well, and I think you're right. A lot of times, even like the broker opens the happy hours and stuff, it tends to be other agents that, maybe been the same person that posts a TikTok that day, and they're not maybe overly busy, but this is like a way to kind of keep them busy. But I do feel like from our side, I can even see. I started thinking about really successful agents in town, and if they're really big on social media, and I can't think of anybody that is.
I was thinking I literally had that thought this week. I was
so let's talk. There's one guy that's crazy successful, Chris Karras, and I saw him at the Open, and he just did this like really cool video of just like who he is, and it was very simple. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I saw him for just a second, and I was like, dude, that video was really good. I just saw it like that day. And he's just like, yeah, thanks.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned his name, because he has been someone, as I've built my career, that has always been in the back of my mind. And I have this, like, it's not an obsession, because that's not what it is.
No, I understand.
Like,
it's very intriguing.
He is very intriguing. He built a very successful business, and I would say relatively quickly in the scope of building business. And so I watch him. You know, there's different people. I think that you're not a true business builder if you're not looking at who else is doing it too.
Yeah.
And what are they doing right? And so I've always been intrigued by him. And in fact, you know, I used to do this nice little mailer, and I was coming up with this, like, oh, here's the best recipe, and here's this, and this just opened. And, you know, Tucker, who we know, he's really good at marketing, and he sat me down one day, and he was like, who are you trying to be? I was like, well, I'd like to be the Chris Karras of this. And he was like, do you think Chris Karras is sharing cookie recipes? And it was literally an aha moment. I kid you not. And I look at Tucker, and I'm like, no. And he was like, then you're never going to be Chris Karras.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Chris Karras, whether it's any of these other really great luxury agents, or any agent who's built a business, you really have to say, like, wait a minute, who am I trying? Again, it goes back to Emily, you got to repel more than attract. So if you want to be the cookie cutter realtor, and I have great recipes, then do it and own it. And you will get people that are attracted to that. Yeah. I'm trying to build a luxury business. I'm trying to build, you know, I want to go from 20 million a year to 50 to 100 million a year. And I need to get in front of people, and they need to respect me as an expert in real estate. Yeah. So that was a big game changer for me. And that's what I've been trying to do.
So are you targeting like the parents of the kids at school, the people in your community?
Again, you know, it's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Again, that's kind of the shotgun. So targeting, there's like, at my school, I can't tell you how many realtors are at my school. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, all right, but I have gotten business from parents in my kids' grade, right? So I think it's more about, because they know me, right? I've been to their kids' birthday parties, like, and they get to know me, and then they get to know, oh, wait, you're actually really good at what you do. Right. So we're going to trust you with this. So that's kind of how I see schools and that. So I go after really anyone who I come in contact with is potentially a client for me, or is in my family, is what I call it. So I need to make sure anyone that's in my family knows what I do, but not in a sleazy car salesman way. Right. But somehow I need to engage them, and maybe they get put on my, maybe I know that they follow me on social media, so I know they're getting a taste of what I do. Maybe they're added to my email blast. Maybe they're invited to my pie party. You know, whatever it is, people need to know what I do. So it's a little bit of everything. So it's school, but what I'll do for schools is, like, I donate a pallet of water to my school anytime they have a big function at the school. And that's just branding. You know, it's a billboard. I've not gotten any business off of it, but they know what I do. But
you've gotten business off of the parents of your kids' friends that you've been to the party, because you've had time to spend with them, and they realize, oh, you're a business person that is a realtor. Right. And that realtor.
I know, I say it wrong all the time.
An agent.
I know, can we just, I'm a real estate investment advisor. Exactly. I'm just changing it up. Let's just change the game. Like, you can't say I didn't say it right.
Do you ever get frustrated that you're in a business with people that aren't as professional as you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Daily. Yes.
Yeah. So you're looking to be, or you are, right? But you're as you grow your business, you want to be elevated into the people that are in that space.
Yes.
And I'm having like some aha moments right here too, kind of thinking about what you're talking about.
I'm taking massive
what
notes.
What you're saying before. It's kind of like, you know, our business is just different, right? So because we are focusing on trying to help provide value to agents, right? Financial advisors, right? You know, build relationships with title people and just friends, family, you know, our spheres. So when you talk about social media, I think that there's more value in creating content from a lender's side because there are so many, like you said, you're on social media all the time. You're a voyeur, but you're not a doer.
Right.
But you see stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you will pay attention to that sort of thing. But for me, it's also the same way in our space, right? You want to do business with people that you like.
Yep.
And sometimes you can't always do business with people you like.
Right.
And so you're going to do a deal with somebody that you have to make the decision sometimes, like, all right, well, this is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Do I do it or do I not do it? Most of the time you're going to do it anyways, right? Because you want to because you have to make money, right?
Yes.
It's your job.
Yes.
And 9 times out of the time you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. Okay, yes.
Yeah, it's a tough struggle.
Yeah, it is. But I think that it comes with, I feel like I'm blessed now that I've gotten to a point in my business where I actually have a choice.
Yeah.
When you're starting out, like, you just need to take whatever you can get. And that's the honest. I remember helping a buyer in Maricopa.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it was a buyer. And you know what? Someone referred me that person. So I was going to, I'm going to do it, and it's experience. And I think that's where some new agents.
If it was a listing, would you have taken it?
At that point, yes.
Okay.
Because it was my first year.
Yeah.
Like, it was just get business, like, build a track record. Back to my real estate investment years, one of the hardest things to do was roll out a brand new REIT because there wasn't a track record.
Yeah.
And so all of our sales team was going out trying to get all these financial advisors to send their people to us. And they were like, where's your track record? And they're like, no, but we're really good. We're really good. Just know we haven't sold anything yet, but just trust us with your money for 8 years.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult, but the companies that had track records were easier to sell. Right. So you need to build a track record. And so you would take every deal. And to get back to what you're saying about working with people that you like and don't like, whether it's an agent on the other side. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers of people that have their real estate license. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning. You need a high school diploma to get your real estate license. And that's not to knock anyone who started in this business right out of high school. In fact,
because there's a lot of them that are really successful.
Yes. And man, I have so much appreciation and admiration for those people because, man, they had to grind.
Right.
Because to start off in this business is not easy if you don't have a database of people.
Right.
And if your database of people is the guy you just graduated college from and all of your buddies, chances are they're not really looking to buy a home anytime soon, right? They may be moving back home with mom and dad. So like you really had to grind but yes, there's a lot. I feel personally that it should be harder to get your license.
100%.
If it's not harder, I feel like there should be levels of designations. There's medical boards out there where, you could at least look up to see, has this doctor passed this level? Now, they may have barely passed, but they took the time to actually go and get this certification, this designation, right? So at least you can feel comfortable in some level of professionalism there, right?
Is there any designations?
No. I mean, there are designations out there, but I don't think it sets us apart from an experience, transaction. Like in my first couple of years to this point, was trying to build credentials. So I was out there and I was getting my ePro, my ABR, my SRS, like any letter I could put behind my name to try and build credibility as a real estate agent. But no one knows what it is. We knew, but you had to explain it. Oh, what's your SRS? Oh.
That's why the power of the MBA.
Yes, that
everybody
those 3 letters
understands
people
what that
know,
is. Yeah.
Right? So that's the 3 letters. So now that's all I use. I don't use any of the other stuff. Now, I am not knocking any of these other designations, but I'm just saying, I feel like you should be able to know when you're sitting down and interviewing an agent, how are you ranked in a sense? Like, how many deals have you done? Like, if you have this certain designation, that means you've been in the business for more than 5 years, you've closed X amount of deals, because I can call myself $1 million agent, but I've only closed $1 million deal in my whole career, right? So I don't know. I struggle with it because I feel like it's way too easy. And we are dealing with contracts. We're dealing with most people's highest asset in their portfolio. Other states, you know, there's lawyers involved and all this. I always call this the Wild West. Whenever I get people that come and buy or sell, you know, looking for homes and they were from out of state, they're like, so the lawyers, I was like, oh yeah, there's no lawyers here. You know, it's just me. But you know, that's where people don't realize it. And like, oh my gosh, you really aren't protected if you haven't asked questions to the agent you're working with. And it's just know you can make the choice. Like you can choose to work with that agent who you're their first deal. Yeah. God bless my first client that worked with me, you know, but he knew that was my first deal.
Yeah.
And he just was like, I'll give you a choice. I'll give you a shot, you know, but it's like, you don't know what's behind the curtain unless you ask. And I just feel like people need to ask.
Right.
You made one, when we had our conversation a couple weeks ago, you said, you know, you look at somebody who's looking to hire an attorney and they know who the junior associates are and who the partners are. Mm-hmm. And they get to kind of pick, right? Mm-hmm. The billable hours. It's like, is it worth it to have that partner who's going to be double what that brand new associate is?
Right.
And you put in the consumer's, you know, court, then they get to choose, but they're not thinking they're going to get a partner and they end up with a junior associate.
Right.
Which I think is what happens here.
You know, not to bring up commissions because that's a sensitive subject, but honestly, it's like I feel like we have to fight to prove our worth because there's so many agents out there that may not, they're part-time, they just may not have invested as much time and effort in understanding the process and maybe give a client a bad experience, right? So someone's gonna be like, why, real estate agents get paid way too much. Well, what if there was a different way to look at it? You know, what if it was like you couldn't charge a 3%, 4%, whatever that high percentage was, unless you had this much experience? You know, would people pay more? I think people would. It wouldn't be everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's fine because they now have the choice. The choice is now theirs. They know you get what you pay for. So you can get an agent that's going to charge a less percent, but they're also a green agent or haven't had the experience or the number of transactions. But if you want to trust someone who's proven themselves, then you have to pay a higher percentage, right? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it could be that's the frustrating part is that, you know, I'm constantly up against, you know, proving myself to someone who may have had an experience with an agent that was just a little less experienced or what have you. But the truth is that's in every business.
Yeah.
But like we discussed, there are trades that require apprenticeships.
Right. That
some would argue aren't as not important because everybody's important, but it's not as monetarily risky,
right?
And they have 2 years maybe,
right? So what do we say? There's
welders,
inspectors,
like electricians,
not appraisers, inspectors, like everyone else in our industry who's allowed access to a lockbox has to prove themselves before they can go out on their own. They have to do an apprenticeship before they can now hang a license as an independent person. Why aren't we like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy for me to look back and make that suggestion because I was a new agent once. I get it. But I also know if I was a new agent and I was required to have an apprenticeship with someone before, man, I would have learned a lot because I was on my own. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, Jen Newman and I started the coaching program was because agents aren't taught how to run a business. They're just given a license to kill, right? Yeah. And so that was our passion, was trying to just make sure people knew how important every part of the process was and give them the tools to succeed. Because there's just so many agents that have so much potential out there. No one's taught them how to run a business.
Right. I mean, I think that's why training programs like Buffini are so successful. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it's like Tom Ferry, and I mean, you go to the conferences and there's thousands of people paying thousands of dollars because most brokerages or team leads don't really train as much as they need help, support. So they bring people on to just kind of work with them.
Right.
But again, if you're green and you're brand new, you have to learn on the fly. So it becomes sort of an apprenticeship, but like there should be some.
Yeah, but you're doing an apprenticeship with someone's number one asset.
Yeah.
Like we're talking a lot of money, you know, most of the people out there are selling their primary residences or trying to purchase their first home or, you know, it's a big deal and they don't know. They don't know. They are looking to you to be the professional. And if you don't know, and they don't know. It's just, I'm shocked there hasn't been more lawsuits or complications. Like, I've been in some sticky situations myself, but I had people I could go reach out to and be like, oh, how do we do this? And I don't know. I feel like there should be some kind of designation or some kind of apprenticeship or something just to protect us as agents and the professionals who are truly doing the best we can for our clients, and treat this as a full-time job. And just allow us to just say, okay, you take your pick, choose what you want, but you can either go with the partner or you can go with the junior associate. Which one do you want?
I heard an agent at another brokerage recently explain to like a big group of people about how he's doing 7% now. And people are like, what? And his niche is luxury golf course homes. Yeah. And everybody was just like blown away. And he's like, what's the push? There people are like, what's the pushback? And he's like, I don't really get a lot of pushback. Yeah. But he's like, everybody was lowering their commissions. He goes, I decided to raise mine. I
think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
He goes, at the end of the day, and people were like, well, have you double-ended one before? He's like, yeah, a couple actually. Last year I did. Because he saw, and he's a very intelligent guy who's also a financial advisor, and he just maneuvers differently. Yeah. Right.
No, I think he's brilliant. I think it sets you apart. It makes people wonder, wait a minute, are you charging more? Right. It just makes me think, okay, well, I want that kind of, you're gonna get rid of, it's that repel versus attract. He's repelling a bunch of people, but the people who sign up with him, they get him. Right. And they are going to pay for it. They not literally like they're going to pay for it. No, but meaning they're willing to pay for that because he has made that his brand. He's going to offer them a different level of service. Now he's got to seal the deal. Like, he's got to come forward with that. Right. But I think it's brilliant.
One of the frustrating things I think on our side is that why people don't look at that the same way with rates.
I was just about to say
like
the same
service
thing.
From a service level, like you said, we were talking earlier. You were talking about somebody like, oh well, the rate was better on online. Yeah. So if someone's going to go buy say $1 million home, they're hiring a high-end agent that they want everything, they want the professionalism and the business acumen and a business person. But the money that they're asking to get from a lender that's going to buy the house, they're like, well, I want the cheapest, I can get the best deal. Instead of going like, I want to work with the person that has the best consultative approach and understands like the real, like the importance behind that side of the thing.
Yeah, but here's what I think. So here's something to think about, because as you're talking about this, I think if you think about it in a different way, they separate rate for the actual loan and then what you're going to pay for service. So if you could somehow communicate to your clients that, oh, we can meet that online rate, we'll do that rate for you. But if you would like XYZ, if they had like a menu, say, we'll give you this rate, but you're not going to get a weekly update phone call. You're not going to get this. And you don't have to say you're not getting it. And then for this is what else you can get, right? Oh, we're going to get weekly update phone calls. We're going to go do this. If you line item out, and then for this, it's this rate. Right. I'm curious how many people would opt for the higher rate because they're not seeing that, right? They're just looking at the bottom line, and they seem to think, and it's no different than real estate agents, that we all do the same thing. Right. We all do the same thing, so I'm going to go for the cheapest rate, right? That's where we have to get them to understand we don't all do the same thing. So how do we do that? How in lending, how in real estate? Yeah. And maybe this guy's onto something. Like, I've toyed with the idea of when I go to listing appointments or sit down with buyers and giving them an option. So I can hear, what's your rate? Okay, great. Let's talk about it. Here's my rate sheet. Pick which package you want. Do you want the full service luxury package where I will meet the movers at your house? I will box the boxes for you. Whatever it is, that's 8%. Yeah. You want this and you don't want that part? Great, that's 7%. You don't want that. You don't even want me to show your home? I'll do that. You just want me to put a lockbox on? I'll do that for 1%. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think, is it our fault for not really educating them on why they should pay more? or because I think we're forced to, what we're doing is we're selling to a market, or we're trying to generate leads from the consumer population that doesn't truly know what we do. It's the second home buyer and the third home buyer that has a better appreciation of what we do, right? So the first time someone does something, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So they're going to go for that cheapest online rate. They're going to go for that agent that just got their license and said they do it for 0.5% just to get the experience. Great, but they don't realize what they didn't get. And so it's educating on the differences.
Yeah.
And then once they made the mistake, I'm like, oh, that was the worst experience ever. Okay, now you might want to pay more.
Right. And I think that further than that, it's like educating the referral partners, right?
Yes.
To the level of like, okay, this, and we have some people that are really good at this. And, then you have a lot of people who are just like, I can't control kind of how that rolls. And some people really want to control it because they've had some snake bites along the way where they've gone to like Bank of America or something. And guess what? It didn't close.
Right.
And it was a whole catastrophe. There's an agent that told a story that he specifically, if he sees on the contract that they're using 𝘵𝘰𝘀 or another, I shouldn't say
larger bank,
or just whoever, right?
Yeah.
He'll go, okay, cool. I'm going to need 15,000 more earnest, and they're going to go,
today.
Why? Well, because I know that this is not going to close on time.
Right.
If you want to use these people right here, I will know 100%. If they say this is a deal that's going to be done and you qualify, it will 100% get done on time.
Yeah.
This way, you don't have to pay $15,000 more money.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Yeah. Right? And it's another philosophy. But you bring up a lot of great points. I think that it's tough when you get someone on the phone and be like, all right, these are the menus. But I don't think we've ever even talked about that. So we're just coming up with all kinds of ideas.
Oh, we are. We're going to just rock.
This has been a very fruitful few hours.
Now if we just had the time to execute these plans.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, gosh.
But, I think that it's just, I think what we have to do is peel the onion back a little bit, and how do you approach it differently? Because I think they're not gonna put a designation on realtors.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we fight that battle differently? And I think it's just about education.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's move on to the next topic because it's going to be a good one.
This is we can cut this out if we have to.
No, it's not going to be that. So we know each other originally from your previous brokerage, which is you and I are both think highly of.
Very much.
The Brokery.
Yes, they're amazing.
And you have recently made a move from the Brokery to your new brokerage, which is 𝘠𝘰𝘬.
Yes.
Which is also a really awesome brokerage in town. We can get into a reason why you did that, why you felt it was time for you to do that. Or we can just talk a little bit about your new company.
What do the viewers want to know?
We do have editing capabilities.
No, there's no reason to edit. And I think
the only reason I'm saying this is I know that you have nothing but great things to say about them.
Oh my gosh.
So it's not like you're doing something wrong.
You're not like revealing the great secret.
No.
Happy to, because listen, the Brokery, Tucker and Oleg are amazing. And the Brokery is a fantastic brokerage. And the reason I left was not a negative reason. Like something didn't happen.
Right.
We didn't get in a fight.
Right.
It's not a big scandal. I just got to a point in my growth that I felt it was time to make a change. And that's quite simply the reason.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, in this business, just because everyone knows everybody, and it's like, it's not an easy thing to do to start having conversations. Like whether I approached it the right way or the wrong way, I just ripped the Band-Aid off. It wasn't something that it was not a knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't just one day I woke up and said, hey, I'm moving. I had thought about it for a long time. And for me, really, I felt that it was time for a new perspective and fresh look and a fresh approach, because I'm trying to get from, I've been consistently at 20 million a year, but I can't seem to get over that for some reason. And I had to just look inside and said, okay, where can I grow that? And sometimes, I look back and see different businesses and how do they grow? And sometimes you just have to make a change. Sometimes you just need to put yourself into a different environment where it's challenging. Not to say that I wasn't challenged at the Brokery.
Yeah.
I had, I respect them. I have many friends still there. I miss them terribly. It was such a great family, but I needed to make myself uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
You know, I just sometimes to shake it up, you got to get uncomfortable. And I felt like it was just time. And so I chose a brokerage that I had a lot of respect for. I've been in the industry long enough that there's a lot of great firms out there, and they all have different kind of cultures and approaches. And I just liked what they do at 𝘠𝘰𝘠 a lot. I've known Chris Morrison since our kids went to preschool together. He did not come recruit me. Let's just make sure everyone knows that.
I know.
I reached out to them because I appreciated what they do. And I also saw who else was there. And I felt like I had a really great learning opportunity to see, how do I take a $20 million business to a $100 million business?
Yeah.
Tucker and Oleg have a much bigger business than $100 million, but I think I just wanted a different perspective.
Yes.
And so that's why I made the move.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say, it's like, you have friends at other places doing different things that you're happy for and their success. And I have friends that have left VIP that are at other companies that I'm still very close with. I have friends that are brokers that I'm very close with. I have friends at every company probably that I think's an awesome, and they do a great job, right? And it's a great company. So, I mean, I understand why, and somebody would maybe want to make a change. Shout out to Oleg and Tucker, though.
Yeah, y'all are amazing.
We love you.
Are. Yes, I still love you. You may hate me, but I still love you.
No.
They definitely don't hate you.
They don't hate you.
But yeah, it's just evolution. Plus, it's like the time to build your own brand. And that's where that was a big thing for you.
It's a huge thing
that's
for
just
me.
not their philosophy, and which is no one's right or wrong. It's just what you wanted to do.
Right. And it's like, I've made from the minute I interviewed with Tucker and Oleg, and I showed up, and they will laugh with my little business card with my big Texas hair and my little Debbie Pontikas with the key. And I thought that was just going to be like the $1 million idea.
Yeah.
And they just laughed at me, and they're like, oh my God, you need a new headshot first. They're like, you do not look like this. So, I've always wanted a team. And for me, that's kind of it's my end game. It's where I wanted to go. I wanted to build my brand. And I was just doing a lot. And I think the lines were getting blurred a little bit on, was I building my brand or was I building the 𝘠𝘰𝘠's brand? Because I even blurred the lines because I believed in them so much. And I love what they do there. And they're amazing. Yeah. But for me to build my own brand, it was just time for me to it's like, I say it was like this, the 𝘠𝘰𝘠 was the best place for me. It's like when you raise a child, right? They raised me.
Yeah.
And they made me a really good realtor.
Yeah.
Now I need to go to college.
Right.
Now I got to play the big games, right?
Yeah.
And then, what's after college? I don't know, but it's like they prepared me for success. So if there's anything that they can take from that and take credit for, is that they've helped me become the realtor that I am today and helped me build the business that I have today. And I owe them tremendously for that.
And you were ride or die for those guys forever.
Oh,
so it's like,
I still am. I still am. Like literally, I still will send agents there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people actually thought you were a partner in the 𝘠𝘰𝘠. Right. I had people ask me that.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yes.
well, maybe I would have stayed if I was.
Just saying. No. And listen, to their defense, they did offer me a lot of leadership opportunities to do. They didn't have that option. They didn't have partnerships there, but they did. They offered me everything they could. That could be as close to that.
Yeah.
So, and I respect that, and I have nothing but great things to say. I feel like to that analogy is the best. They raised me, and I need to go and spread my wings.
Yeah, spread your wings.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, how does Chris differ from them? He's the owner.
He's the owner. Yeah.
And but is he still in the day to day if I'm like actually doing like transactions?
So in all fairness, I've only been there like for 4 weeks. So I still haven't really, Taylor and I literally are just about keeping our head above water because changing brokerages is a major, major thing. And
so we'll talk to you again in 8 weeks.
Yes. But I will say he's been nothing but what do we need? How can we help you grow your business?
Yeah.
You tell us what you need. And even meeting some of the other agents at 𝘱𝘰, everyone's just been very welcoming and like, hey, we're happy to have you. Just let us know what you need. So but he is a technology mogul. I mean, in my opinion, he even says that 𝘱𝘰 is a technology business that has a brokerage arm. And so their technology platforms, which I'm still just barely learning, I think, are just something that's going to be exciting for me to add to my business that I just didn't have that at the brokery. That wasn't their growth path. But he's amazing and he's very inspiring and he's very agent friendly and I've had nothing but great things so far. But ask me in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. So besides the technology and Chris and your relationship, because you've known him for a long time, was it a lot to do with the fact that there was some really high profile agents at the 𝘱𝘰?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So you're like, these are the people that I want to be. So in order for me to be them, I feel like I want to be around them and kind of work within them and compete against them and learn from them or just soak up the information.
You know that saying, and I'm probably going to get it wrong and Taylor's going to laugh, but like you are who you associate with.
Yeah. It's
kind of that. It's like you want to be, if someone's your mentor. So I look at all of their, founders and their top producing as mentors to me. They've done it.
Yeah.
So, how can I learn from that? Why reinvent the wheel? And I firmly believe, and there may be others out there that don't, but I firmly believe there's enough business for all of us. Like, I'm not competing with you. I'm not competing against the team or, any of their other, I'm a partner with them, right? Like, how can I learn from you and take that to elevate my business, which only helps elevate the 𝘱𝘰 brand, to have all of these really great professional top producing agents.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. Because there's a lot of competition, but I think we make the competition with each other.
Yeah.
Because when I go sit down and I'm signing a listing appointment from someone who's referred to me, right? It's totally different than if it's a blind, hey, I saw your ad and I'm interviewing you and 10 other people that I saw ads for. Like, that's competition. Like, that's just grassroots, how can I make myself better than the other one? That's competition. That's different. But when I get a phone call and I say, I got your name from so-and-so, who's a good friend of mine, and I'm looking to sell my house. Like, I didn't have to compete with anyone at 𝘱𝘰 for that. I just had to compete with myself. I had to get out there and make sure I was staying in front of people and communicating what I do and being a professional and advocate for myself. Like, I'm in the business of creating advocates. I have to create as many advocates for me and the brand and my team as I can.
Yeah.
So if I focus on the wrong thing and feel like I'm competing against everyone else that's a real estate agent, I'm destined for failure.
Yeah.
Because then I'm just going to fail. Because there's always going to be someone better. There's always, someone always has a bigger yacht. Ari always says that. Someone already has a bigger yacht. Like, you can go get that yacht, and then the minute you succeed and you get that yacht, the bigger yacht's going to pull up right next to you, and you're going to be like, oh. So if you focus on that, you're never going to be happy. But if you focus on just, what do I need for me to build my brand? And what tools and resources and who can I reach out to for mentorship, for coaching? If they don't want to coach me, that's fine. Like, if they see me as a threat, okay. I mean, I'm not, but I can understand that. I'll just go to the next person,
So what are your goals for this year then?
So my goals as far as production wise?
Just in general.
Oh, so now it's just getting settled in. I have my production goals. I want to close over 30 million, which would go, I was 20 million last year. So I want to take that up to 30 million. I want to streamline my processes, allow Taylor and I to catch our breath. And then ultimately it's, what does that team look like? Who else can I add to the team, and what do I want? What does that team look like? Because there's many different ways to build a team. And so that's kind of that internal debate I'm having with myself right now, is what does that look like? Do you build a team so that you can build a brand and an empire, right? And you're just managing a business, but it's a team? Or do you build a team that supports you as an agent? So is everyone's role in that team just to help drive you leads? Or am I building a team where now I'm responsible at generating leads for them? So there's two different approaches. So that's kind of where I'm struggling on, okay, what direction do I want to go with that?
Do you see yourself ever wanting to have your own brokerage?
Good question. I mean, I think that was in the beginning always the goal, be your own boss, all this. Listen, there's a lot of responsibility and expense that comes with owning a brokerage. And I've talked to many people that own a brokerage, and they say it's not a money-making deal. It's very difficult to make money owning a brokerage. So I'm now just asking myself, so why would I do it? And so I think why I chose 𝘰𝘬𝘰 was it's going to give me the closest thing to that as I can, because people are going to know me for my brand. I have 𝘰𝘬𝘰 as a brand kind of to support that. And with their, their connection and partnership with the Forbes Global Properties, that gives me another way to kind of enhance to my clients, a way to get exposure for their listings. So it's all that. But I think, I don't know. It's a good question, but it's the answer, if I had to say now, would be no. But
it seems rough.
Yeah.
And very difficult.
Yeah.
It seems tough.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's like no joke. Like all the people that I've talked to, it is difficult to make money owning a brokerage.
Yeah.
Now, if it was to just be on my own, and it was just me and like two other people, but it was that for one team, the concept that I told you, where it's like, it's really not about me helping other agents and growing like a Russ Lyon name. Debbie Pontikas is known as like a Russ Lyon. Is it that, or is it just, no, I just want to be, Joan Levinson. Right. I mean, you just mentioned that name and you know who she is. It doesn't matter what brokerage is with. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's Joan Levinson.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter.
She is her own brand.
Right.
Yeah.
So, or is it that where it's just about building?
She's not
my
big
business?
on social media.
No,
No, she's not.
she's not.
I really want to get her on the podcast.
So
I don't think she would do it. She doesn't even know we exist.
That's why I name dropped her, because she doesn't even know me. I'm like, you don't know me. I'm just, But
Who else? No.
A question that I always like to ask, because Ryan sometimes is not.
Is this going to be like who you think we should have on the podcast?
No.
Joan Levinson. No. Ari Pontikas.
So you've been our partner for a long time.
Yes.
What is it about us that? Why do you feel confident sending people your way?
Our way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, our way.
Your way. That's an easy one for me to answer. So I think that Bison's approach to business is similar to my approach to business. You guys look at this as a relationship, not a transaction. And that's apparent in the level of service that you provide. So, right, it goes back to, why would someone pay more? Well, because they're going to have a handheld experience, and the knowledge that I have gained from just interacting with you and your team. And everyone's so gracious with their time and to educate and help me look better. But then when I have my clients reach out to you, like, one, just the communication and the follow-up that I get as an agent, I don't get that from other lending partners. The level of detail, the processes that you go through, I know they're in good hands. And I see the wheels turning with every single client I send. You guys aren't just about plugging numbers into a computer and spitting out a rate. Yeah. You're literally trying to get in and make sure you're putting the best deal together for that person's situation as you possibly can. So you ask a ton of questions. You do, what do you call your calls?
Discovery calls.
Discovery calls, thank you. And I think that my clients walk away feeling like, okay, they can trust that it's the right decision. And, whenever I refer someone, it's an extension of my brand, right?
Yep.
So if I give someone a referral and they have a horrible experience, that looks bad on me. Not just the person I referred, but they look more bad on me than the person that did a bad job.
Stuart's going to be so happy if he ever listens to this.
He's going to want to clip this out.
Because his number one thing is, it's our job to make you look good. And secondly, it's to educate the client. So they walk away feeling like expertise without empathy is failure, right? So it's like they learned everything they needed to learn, but we did it in a very delicate way to make them feel comfortable.
Right.
And then they leave going, okay, that was like a consultation. That wasn't a phone call that I got cold called from, and they helped me through. And they can probably leave going, they're doing everything they can for my best interest, at heart, whatever it is. So yeah, cut that out for Stu, Trey.
Yeah, he'll be very, very happy.
And I think it goes back to a conversation we had earlier. You know, where I am in my business is I'm really trying to streamline who my business partners are, and only work with those who I feel marry my brand and how I approach dealing with clients. And so, you know, you guys are one of them. So I appreciate
we
that.
appreciate that. On that note, Trisha, do you have anything else you want to ask Deb before we
I don't
pump
think
out?
that there's anything that
I think we covered it all.
need to cover. I mean, I had a couple other notes, but to be honest,
There was a lot of notes.
We're at an hour 20. So
little long-winded.
I think we probably have taken enough of your time. No, thank you. We
Yeah.
we can keep you here for another hour, but
I'll ask one last question.
Okay.
What's Taylor's role?
Taylor's role is
gonna
to
put the
keep
camera on Taylor
me
again.
sane.
There we go.
Like
Okay.
literally, she is. She's fantastic. So when I knew I needed an assistant, and Oleg will say he's told me for years, which you did. You told me for years that I needed one. Finally pulled the trigger on it. It was too late.
Yeah.
It was too late. And I think we had that conversation today because we are so busy. I talked to Aria and I was like, how am I still working till 10 o'clock at night? By the way, Taylor's also working till 10 o'clock at night. So it's not, I was like, it was too late. I waited too long to make that call. But Taylor's role is literally, I told her, I was like, your job is to make my day easier. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what she does.
She's an extension of you.
She's an extension of, she is my right hand.
Yeah.
She is my COO. She, you know, whatever I need her to be, she's right there for me. And so I originally hired her unlicensed because I didn't want to hire someone. I've had assistants or you know, junior agents that are licensed, and ultimately you end up getting that conflict of interest where they're more interested in building their business than helping me. And so I said, nope, I don't want a licensed assistant. I want an executive assistant. I said, you may be running to the grocery store because I forgot to pack my kids' lunch.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of dedication to helping me just have some balance in my life that this position is. And she was like, that's me, I'm in. And she came from the fundraising world. She was an executive assistant in the fundraising world, and she has definitely schooled me on a lot of things. She corrects my speech all the time. It's charcuterie, not charcuterie. You know, so there's like, I've learned a lot. I also am learning a lot about, you know, lingo. Like we were talking today how I was at, don't worry, I'm not going to say
She's
it.
quite a bit younger.
Yeah, you're like, do not, Debbie Pontikas, do not. No, but like when I was graduating high school, she was born. So I was like, well, okay.
Right.
You know, so anyway, I've learned a lot of just like, we just keep each other laughing.
Yeah.
Like literally we laugh all the time. And that's her role, is to keep me laughing. Because otherwise I would be crying.
Right.
No, literally. So she does everything from, now she's licensed. Yay. So she can help me with clients, and she helps me just run all my events. She helps me, you know, basically a communications director, but her most important role is my wow factor for my clients. She's my client experience manager. So helps me with gathering important information about clients. She helps me with the pop buys. She helps me make sure I'm like, oh, hey, like so-and-so just had a baby in case I didn't see it. Oh, great. Let me reach out. So she's kind of that person. If you kind of think of her background and coming from fundraising, like she would literally, for her previous boss, would literally walk around with a Facebook is what I think they called it. And would be like reminding that person of like, okay, her name is Sally. She has this, you know.
Oh, wow. That is smart.
It's like in the 𝘸𝘢𝘐𝘄 product.
Right, yes, which is funny because on our interview, I told her, I was like, what you can be assured of is I am not 𝘸𝘢𝘐𝑄 Prada. And she was like, fantastic.
I love that.
Then she started working for me and she was like, you're a liar. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. I say it with a smile. Like, no, we laugh all the time. So she's fantastic. So
is this the point where I look in the camera and say that Debbie Pontikas is the best boss I've ever
Oh,
had?
Yes.
Okay,
Say it
and
into the microphone.
Debbie Pontikas is the best boss that I've ever had,
Fabulous.
and working for her is such a joy. And don't fire me. And
Never.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no,
We have the
never.
best times.
Sounds like
I've
if
never
she
seen
does,
an
you're gonna hire.
assistant or any, actually, assistant or not, somebody to be so demonstrative about their pride and affection for their boss. I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, Taylor, you can turn it down just a little bit.
If she shows up with brown hair one day, I'm like, no, I'm kidding. I'm like, what was
We
that
got a
movie?
problem.
If you go look at my Instagram, like half of it is posts of just you and I.
Yeah, I know.
It's you and I and cats.
What-
So-
What's the name of You and I and Cats? What is the name of that movie? single white female.
Single white female.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, we joke about that. No, she's
No.
not. But she truly is like what I will say. This one last thing about Taylor is she was like on her way here. We were joking and she was like, "What am I good at?" And I said, "You're a people pleaser." And we just started laughing. But truly, a good assistant is someone who's just trying to think of your next step and have already thought about it so that it just smooths your day out, right? And so that's what she's amazing at. So
Awesome.
thanks, Taylor.
Well, that's a great way to wrap it up.
Always by talking positively about me.
yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
for
Thank you,
having
Taylor,
me.
for coming. Trisha Madrid over here. She's our podcast producer. She chimes in. Sometimes I forget to introduce her at the beginning, along with Trey,
Yes.
my nephew over here.
Amazing.
He was the podcast engineer. Sometimes I forget to do that. But when
Okay.
Trisha's chiming in now, she's on camera, so people know who she
I
is
know,
at this
it's
point.
so weird.
Taylor doesn't know what you're talking about at all. Half the time I'm like, "Hi," and she's like, "I'm Taylor."
Yeah.
It's just you get focused. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't
thank
take
you.
it personally.
So anyways, thank you for everything you did today.
Yeah.
And everybody, please, this camera, please go onto our social media. What'd you
I
say?
can only see like one at a time.
Oh.
All right, this
Yeah.
camera over here, Trey.
You need the lights.
Debbie is gonna look like she's having a seizure because she's like,
Which camera?
Well, I took that from Sean Evans. That's right. Shout out Sean Evans. What's it? One Bite? No, that's different. That's Hot Ones. Hot
He's the
Ones.
best interviewer,
Yeah.
I think, on the
he's,
planet.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, please go to our social media platforms, Into the Storm, and to YouTube. Like and subscribe. Please share with your friends and family and colleagues. We need everybody to help us grow our podcast. Yeah, so we can continue to do this. So that's it. Thank you. And we'll see y'all later. Appreciate it.